Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Momentarily, you'll see our good buddy Ryan Leuhrsmann. Yeah, that Ryan Leuhrsmann. He was on with us a couple months ago. He is now an Iowa High School Athletic Association boys class in the Hall of Fame this year. Congratulations to Ryan. We'll get him on screen and talk about that. But after we talk to Ryan about that, obviously, Ben McCollum. Big news today as we record this on Monday afternoon, March 24th. Ben McCollum, the new head coach for the Iowa men's basketball program. Also, talk about the Hawkeye women's game later this afternoon with Oklahoma in Oklahoma. So they're round two of March Madness. But let's first talk about your relationship when you were head basketball coach at Xavier High School, winning state championships, and now you've since retired. But let's talk about your relationship with the newly minted Iowa head basketball coach and Ben McCollum from Drake, who was at Northwest Missouri State recruiting your kids back in the day. So let's talk about that, please.
Yeah,
Ryan.
two of the best players that I had the privilege of coaching, and two of the best in Xavier High School history. Adam McDermott, Greg McDermott's nephew, was a very cerebral 6'4" shooting guard that had just a high IQ for the game. The other player was Matt Mims that Coach McCollum had interest in. Ended up being a point guard and actually a combo guard at South Dakota State for Eric Henderson, who's another up and coming coach. But had a chance to get to know Coach McCollum a little bit through the recruitment of those two, and was just really impressed with him and his knowledge of the game. I mean, he really does a deep dive, and it's beyond just physical measurables with kids. He really values guys that share the ball, play intelligently, and then as he's talked about and people have talked about, very committed on the defensive end of the floor as well. And that kind of sets the tone for controlling tempo with his overall philosophy.
And that's what I'd like to talk to you about, because a lot of it depends on his personnel, like with most coaches, because some of the people who were trying to naysay when Iowa was talking about bringing him in after his season was done, 31-4, by the way, at Drake, no small shakes. And as you chuckle with me, it's like, wow, what else do you have to do? His first year in Division I after winning four national titles in his 15 years at Northwest Missouri State, an Iowa City native, but born in Iowa City, raised in Storm Lake, Iowa.
I'll tell you what about him, and there's very few of these guys in the profession, but he coaches coaches. I mean, other coaches have so much respect for him and his basketball IQ and his knowledge of the offensive side of the ball. He basically is, like he said in a number of his press conferences, recruits kids that have a great feel for the game, great IQ, and come from winning programs. We had a good run at Xavier, won a couple titles, and I had kids in McDermott and Mims that went to the state tournament regularly, and that's a big deal for him when he's looking at high school talent in particular. So you get kids that understand how to play, will play the right way unselfishly, and are super skilled as well, obviously, and have athleticism. He's just going to play winning basketball, however that looks. If he's got a few more athletes, they'll probably score in the mid 70s to 80s. If he doesn't, like he did at Drake, well, they're going to adjust and they're going to, maybe not score quite as high of an average. But, like I said, he's a coach's coach. And I think we're really lucky to have him because if it wasn't us, somebody else was going to snatch him up and we could have missed out on, what could be a guy that, a blue blood like Kansas may come after in a few years if he has the kind of success that we all hope he does and think he can have here in the black and gold.
Situation dictates, right?
Well, the talent that you have, and he'll be able to, get into the portal, and you're able to turn over a roster a lot more quickly these days than you could in the past. And I think that should bode well. It may take a year or two for him to get traction and be exactly where he wants to be. But the great thing about him is his system and his belief in how he wants to play. He adjusted to the talent that he has. And the real exceptional coaches, the Hall of Famers, they tend to do that. I mean, you look at Coach K through the years at Duke and how that evolved. They were more of a ball control offense. Certainly man-to-man defense was always a staple of what they did and locking you up on that end. But then he evolved and started getting, the one-and-done players and the talent. And he started playing faster on offense. And the great ones know how to relate to their players and put them in the best position to succeed, the team to ultimately succeed based on what their talent level is.
Rumor has it that Bennett Sturts, the Valley Player of the Year last year, is going to be leaving with his head coach, Ben McCollum from Drake, and coming to Iowa. So here come all those stories now, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I think about the guys that we have in the portal right now that are Hawkeyes, and hopefully a few of them come back. And the really neat thing about thinking about the roster that Fran put together through the years, and I know people don't give him enough credit for the caliber of players that he brought in, but you think about a Cooper Koch, who's a legacy guy who may come back. You talk about a Price Sanford. Those are kids that if Ben McCollum was in a position, where he was, say, at a Minnesota or something, he would have recruited those kids. He would have been going after them. So I feel like, some of the Iowa guys that we have on the roster that are in the portal right now that he could maybe bring back are going to blend well with those 2 or 3 kids that he brings over, from Drake. And then you sprinkle in a couple raw athletes that he'll be able to get, from within the portal from other, hopefully some other Power 5 type athletes or guys that were all Missouri Valley. It could be really fun in the first year or two to see them hit the ground running. But you're right, it's a totally different game these days. You don't have to sit out a year, and so it's possible to turn it over quickly and win right away. I mean, you have to look no further than Ames, Iowa, to see what TJ's done in this day and age, and I'm excited. I'm really excited for what Coach McCollum brings to the table. And I think that at the end of the day, defense and rebounding is what travels. In the Big Ten Conference, if you're going to win the regular season title, you got to do it night in and night out. When you get into the NCAA tournament, you're not going to tend to, just run people out of the gym and outscore them. It comes down to tight games, 1 or 2 or 3 possessions here or there that determine the outcome. And this guy has won everywhere he's been, excelling in situational basketball situations. So I'm just eager to see him put his fingerprints on this program. And, it's pretty cool to have a native Iowan leading the show. And I think to him, everybody says, well, maybe you could have gone to West Virginia and made, $7 million a year or something, let's say. But I think for him, he looks at Iowa and you see the longevity of Kirk Ferentz and Fran McCaffery for, Fran's 15-year run, Lisa Bluter handing the torch to Jan Jensen. Hopefully he can build a legacy similar and be here for, 10 to 20 years.
Ryan, like with coaches, if you can coach, you can coach. If you can play, most times than not, players can play wherever they are, can't they?
Absolutely. And Bennett Sturts will be a great fit in Iowa City. I think the fan base throughout the state and beyond the borders of Iowa are going to really identify for him or with him. And that's the one thing they have always said Coach McCollum has done a great job of, and that's developing point guards and having them be the key that ignites everything and really makes the thing go. And we all got to witness that with Drake this year with Sturts. I know he had a guard that had a cup of coffee here and there in the NBA, Trevor Hudgens, down in Northwest Missouri State, that I believe was National Player of the Year in D2, led him to a couple national titles. The guy is kind of known for being a point guard whisperer. And in our history in Iowa basketball, you think back to the teams that Coach Davis had with B.J. Armstrong. You think about Lute Olson with Ronnie Lester. You think about Coach Davis then having Dean Oliver. We've had a history of great point guard play, so hopefully he can build on that. And, certainly like Mike Gasell and Jeff Horner and those guys were in that group as well.
Folks, he's Ryan Leuhrsmann. I'm Dave O'Hara. This is Hawkeyed. We'll be back with more in just a few moments.
Hawkeyed is brought to you by BettorEdge, your ultimate social betting marketplace. With no VIG, you're bound to win more on every bet on BettorEdge. Founded by Hawkeye alum James Siles and proud Iowan Greg Kajewski, BettorEdge delivers an unmatched betting experience. Plus, what's not to love when they're committed to supporting charities and children's hospitals near you? Join the action now. Sign up at bettoredge.com/Hawkeyed and get $10 to start winning more today. BettorEdge, where your social betting means your bets go further and you win more.
Welcome back to Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara. Momentarily, you'll see our buddy Ryan Leuhrsmann joining us on screen. Ryan, of course, as you know, the former Iowa Hawkeye basketball playing great, newly minted into the Iowa High School Athletic Association Boys Hall of Fame this last year for basketball. Class of 2025. And Ryan, again, congratulations. Thanks for taking the time to join us for this whole show and talking Ben McCollum, Iowa's new men's head basketball coach, as we record this on Monday afternoon, March 24th. Ever fluid situation, Ryan, but let's take a pause briefly from this whirling dervish in Iowa City and talk a little bit about your career again, what your development as a player, as a coach. You went through a transition from Tom Davis to Steve Alford from your junior year into your senior year. Oh, by the way, and I mention it every time guys like you, Jeff Settles, Kent McCausland, J.R. Koch, whenever you guys were on this show, the last Iowa Hawkeye men's basketball team to go to a Sweet 16 and beyond. I'll tell you, Ryan, that's long ago and far away, 25 plus years now. But let's talk a little bit about your life before going to Iowa City and what you're up to these days, an entrepreneur in the business world in the Cedar Rapids and in the Iowa area. Let's talk about that, please, Ryan.
Yeah, no, besides playing at Cedar Rapids, Washington, played AAU with a good friend who ended up at Arizona on a national championship team, Justin Wessel. So we played together and had some success with a lot of local kids that just kind of formed a local all-star team and would go to the national tournaments. And then Justin and I both went to the Nike All-American camp together. That used to be a big deal when there weren't as many regional AAU tournaments around. Adidas had a camp and Nike had a camp, and they'd invite like the top 100 players or who they felt were the top 100 players in the country to come to a camp for a week, and just the best against the best. And I was fortunate enough to have that experience after committing to Iowa, and had a good career. Obviously, a senior year at Wash, we had a lot of success, won a conference title, and was just always looking forward to getting down to Iowa City and playing for Coach Davis and playing with some of my friends that I got to know and that I competed against, like McCausland, like Brian Bowen, all those guys, Jason Bauer. So it was really a thrill to come and be a Hawk and play for Coach Davis, and had a great, amazing first 3 years. Like you said, cap with the Sweet 16 run, and then got caught in the transition. And, it wasn't easy, but we adapted quickly, and Coach Alford came in, and his system couldn't have been more different. We hardly pressed, whereas before we pressed pretty much the whole game, either a 1-2-1-1 to speed it up or a 2-2-1 to slow it down if we were playing a more athletic team. We became a half-court man-to-man defensive team under Alford. And I remember doing defensive slide drills in the spring and him running the crap out of us. And my buddy Rod Thompson, I'm going to throw him under the bus, but he got so overworked at one of those spring workouts that he threw up in one of the trash bins that was just sitting by the court at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And then Coach Alford gave him the nickname Bucket from there going forward. And Bucket Rod Thompson ended up having a heck of a career, for the time that he was there, made the best of it. And, we had a fun year. Like I said, it was totally different, half-court man-to-man, more of an authoritarian type of a leader, motion offense versus the flex offense. So these kids have got a lot to adjust to. But the thing about Coach McCollum and Coach McCaffery, they both play a beautiful style of basketball with great spacing on the offensive end and ball movement and screening and player movement that's all coordinated. So it shouldn't be as big of a transition, I think, for these guys as it was maybe for us going from, like I said, the flex and more of a fast break, let's score quick, to the motion offensive system that Coach Alford invoked.
Is there a team meeting without a coach first to discuss the transition, or you
absolutely?
Just kind of fly by it?
There's conversations, out on the pedestrian mall or at somebody's apartment, and just what do we need to do to win? Because we're all there and we all want to be highly successful and on great teams when you're at a high major school like Iowa, and that's what we tried to do. And we had a fairly successful year for Coach Alford's transition year. We lost Guy Rucker, we lost Joey Range. Through that process, you're going to have some casualties that you lose, and that sucked not having those guys because they were good friends of mine and they were probably two of our more talented players. But you grind it out. You do the best you can, and you're setting the tone for a new regime and creating a new culture. And we were able to do that for Coach Alford. And then he ran with it and had great success with the Luke Recker, Reggie Evans teams. Shortly after that, Dean Oliver obviously was a catalyst for those first 2 years as well after I was gone. And it's a great opportunity is what I'm saying. It sucks. Like Cooper Koch, I know for sure, love Fran just like Price Sanford does, and he'd rather finish it out and have 4 years with him. But it also is an opportunity to really set the tone for the new guy in the new sheriff in town, in Ben McCollum.
Some of these players could still come back with Ben McCollum now at the helm.
Absolutely. I think when you are going through the recruiting process as a high schooler, you're usually committing, number one criteria is the relationship with the head coach. and you go there to play for the head coach. They're the figurehead. They're the face of the program. But when you're on campus, you start building relationships with people throughout the community, within the program, the managers, your other teammates, your classmates in the classes that you're taking. You become a part of Iowa City, Iowa, and people fall in love with it. And that's why I could see Cooper coming back, maybe. Certainly Price could come back, and maybe even Laje. Ben McCollum is one of the up-and-coming, brightest talents in all of basketball and coaching at any level,
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a hell of an opportunity for these kids to play with him, and who knows? I mean, we're all banking on the fact that he can replicate the success he had at D2 Northwest Missouri State and at Drake, and if he does, we're all in for a hell of a ride.
So I want to talk about family life for you, give your kids some props, but also where you're at professionally. And we'll talk some Hawkeye women's basketball as we close out the show. Ryan, kind enough to join us for all 3 segments today. He is Ryan Leuhrsmann, former Hawkeye basketball playing great. And I can't say this enough. And Ryan, it's only been a couple weeks, so you're not tired of hearing this, are you? Newly minted Iowa High School boys basketball Hall of Famer. How's that rest on your ears?
It feels great. And Coach McCaffery was one of the first guys to text me when he saw that. I've had a great relationship with him and friendship that I cherish and will cherish forever going forward. But he said now whenever I sign my name, I got to put HOF underneath it.
I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah, I've had this conversation with
I
guys
was like real funny, Coach, real funny.
I'm serious. I've had this conversation with football guys like James Morris, and James Vandenberg, a lot of old Zach, and now Kent McCollum and you. You got to put Ryan Leuhrsmann, HOF. I agree with Fran on that, Ryan, you rascal. You're too humble. Folks, he's Ryan Leuhrsmann. I'm Dave O'Hara. This is Hawkeye. Ryan and I will be back to close out the show in just a few moments.
Hi, this is Joe Mershman from Mershman Seeds. Substitutions cost you money. Why take their seconds when you can have our first choice? Here's Ben Paper to tell you more about Mershman Power Core Enlist corn.
We are way ahead of Big Seed on this one. This corn has 4 different post-herbicide tolerances, multiple modes of action for above-ground pests, and it is some of the highest yielding corn genetics that are out on the market today.
If you're one of the many that got substituted on your corn hybrid last spring, contact your local Mershman Seeds dealer today and ask them about Power Core Enlist corn. From Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Momentarily, you see our buddy Ryan Leuhrsmann joining us. Ryan, a former Hawkeye basketball playing great, now a newly minted member, as we've been talking about all show, and rightfully so, a new member into the Iowa High School Boys Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2025. Congratulations again to Ryan on that. But Ryan, let's talk a little bit more about your personal life, professional life, and then we'll get back talking some basketball here. Fire away when ready. It's a great story.
Yeah, no, I've been a career salesperson, started out in medical device. A former Hawk, John Derby, got me a job with DePuy Spine. Did that for a while, transitioned into the insurance world, and worked in insurance for 13 years like McCausland, not nearly making as much money as him. So transitioned out of that and went to work for a good buddy of mine who played for Dan McCarney at Iowa State, Brett Kellogg, and worked for his Surf Pro franchises doing business development for their mitigation restoration franchise company here in Cedar Rapids and also in Des Moines. So enjoying getting over to Des Moines. Been to a number of Polk County I Club events over there, the golf outing, the social that Coach McCaffery was at in the fall, and have really enjoyed networking with Hawks over there in central Iowa. But other than that, I'm separated from my wife, but have 3 beautiful kids. Grateful that we were able to create and bring them into this world. I've got a son that's a senior at Linn-Mar, tennis player, going to end up going to the University of Iowa and probably studying mechanical engineering. Another son who likes to hoop, that's a sophomore at Linn-Mar. We're waiting on him to hit a growth spurt, but he can shoot it a little bit, so maybe he'll have a chance to do something if he wants to beyond high school. We'll see. And then a little girl that's a dance diva, that the end goal is to hopefully be on the Iowa dance team someday further on down the road. She's in 6th grade.
I love it. The young hooper who can shoot it just like Dad used to. I'll tell you, Ryan, you could light it up. And you see a coach like Jenny Baranczyk saying, you know what? That's my former teammate, even though I'm at Oklahoma now and I'm not at Iowa. Let's wear 52 pins, Jamie's number.
Yeah.
Iowa coaching staff and Oklahoma coaching staff. You really hit home when you talked about affecting lives and kids. That's what it's all about, really, right? Isn't it?
That women's program, under Coach Lee at the very end, and it transitioned into Coach Bluter. And Coach Bluter just did an incredible job of creating a close-knit culture. Everybody had compassion for one another, wanted to push each other to be excellent in everything that they did on the court and beyond. And obviously she and her staff, Jan Jensen, obviously being the main one, left quite an impression on these young ladies that they coached. And so much so that a number of them got into the coaching ranks and have had their own success going forward. And, you see Caitlin Clark come back for the game when she got her jersey retired, and she had all of her teammates there. All those girls came back, and that really speaks to the unity that program has, and that they're lifelong relationships. It's not just a 4-year relationship.
That's what really strikes me. Again, to your off-air comments, and thank you for sharing that on the air. That's what it's all about. And when you talk about affecting lives and being a leader. So moving forward, again, kudos to Coach Jensen, as you mentioned, Coach Lilis Baranchek, now Baranchek at Oklahoma, former Hawkeye Grace, former Drake Bulldogs, coaching or playing. I mean, it's amazing how the world turns. And now back to Ben McCollum being a Drake Bulldog head coach for 1 year, and now at the Iowa Hawkeyes, announced today officially on Monday, March 24th, as Ryan and I record this early afternoon. Final takeaways. You've said so much this whole show about Ben McCollum, but where do you see this program going from here, again, from Fran McCaffery now into the Ben McCollum era? Please, Ryan.
Yeah, Fran resurrected us from the dead. Don't want to throw any coaches under the bus, but we all know there was a period there where it was a real struggle, and that necessarily isn't one guy's fault, but it happened. And kudos to Coach McCaffery for having the charisma, having the intelligence that he has, having the knowledge of the game, playing an exciting brand of basketball that kind of fit our tradition of playing up tempo, throwing in the press, playing some zones. He brought the fans back and created excitement again in the program. And I think Coach McCollum here, you're somewhere, and I just think people want something new. It's nothing personal. I just think you're somewhere for 10 to 15 years. It happened to Coach Davis. Now it happened to Coach McCaffery. People just want to see, hey, what could somebody different that comes in here? What could they do? And I don't think we could have found a better guy than Coach McCollum, a native Iowan. The guy grew up being a Hawkeye fan. There was a great picture of him with Coach Davis when he was a camper at Hawkeye basketball camp back in the day. I mean, you've got a guy that is a lifetime coach. I mean, he obviously wanted this from an early age, worked hard at it, accomplished a certain level of expertise, and now he's one of the brightest minds in the game at any level. And I think he's got a chance to make us the type of team with his commitment on the defensive end of the ball to one that can compete for regular season Big Ten titles. And we've done that in the past, but I think he's the guy that can maybe get us over the top and get us to get one of those. And you would know this, Dave. Was it like 1979 or something was the last time?
Final four? You talking about Ronnie Lester and that crew, or what are you talking about?
Is that the last regular season Big Ten title?
Yeah, well, it was 1979, 80, yes. Yeah. 79, 80.
Okay. So it's been a long time. We've had a lot of great teams, but it's freaking hard to win a regular season title in that league. And I think that Coach McCollum, with his expertise, his style of play, and his commitment to defense and rebounding, I think it can happen.
Everything that you've said has been so on point. The appreciation for Fran's career and everything moving forward. As you said, this isn't an easy gig. That's why they get paid what they get paid, and they have the pressure they have. But I think you're right, and I love the meme or the picture that you're talking about on social media today with Tom Davis. That would have been during the Ryan Leuhrsmann era when you were playing there, summer camp with Tom Davis. You may have been an idol. You might have been Ben McCollum's idol. So I love that you reposted that, though, because you're right. Everything comes back full circle. As we mentioned, Ben McCollum, born in Iowa City, then moved to Storm Lake and spent his high school years there, and then played at Northwest Missouri State, then went from there to Drake 1 year, and now back home to Iowa. Funny how life all goes full circle, isn't it, Ryan?
It really is. And that young Ben McCollum, obviously at the Hawkeye camp, he's been a lifelong Hawkeye, and he's put all these years of work and grinding and winning it everywhere he's gone and building relationships the right way. And now he's got to be just elated to be in this position to try to take this program to the next level. And we've got every reason as fans and alumni to believe in him. And we got to get behind him and rally the troops, sell out Carver, and really take that excitement level up a notch to where the women's program is.
And you said it perfectly. And now job one is to retain some of those players who entered the transfer portal, the Price Sanfords and the like, and then also the recruits that decommitted, some of the high school kids. Hopefully they can come back into the fold, because some of them have left the door open. But Ryan, as we joked about, but it's no joke, it's serious. it's such a fluid situation, and I keep date stamping this show on Monday, March 24th. By the time this airs and we record again next week, so much can change between now and then. But folks, there he is, Ryan Leuhrsmann, newly minted into the Iowa High School Boys Athletic Association Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2025. Former Hawkeye great and former great high school coach, and now tearing it up in the business world as an entrepreneur. But Ryan Leuhrsmann, great to see you again. Thanks for agreeing to be on the show and taking the whole show. Thanks for your time as always, and great to see you, Ryan.
Hey, always a pleasure, Dave. Go Hawks, baby.
Go Hawks, indeed. For Ryan Leuhrsmann, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeyed, and thanks also to my production partners at Better Edge and BetterEdge.com, Greg Kieski. That's all from us at Hawkeyed. Thanks to all of you.